Balao Guayas, 24 shrimp producers in 2007, created the Calisur Foundation with the purpose of participating in strategic projects in favour of the sustainability of the sector in communion with the care of the ecosystem. The mangrove reforestation is the first joint action and the most important so far made by the organizations.
Bueno, lo primero que empezamos, que es la tarea que hemos hecho en los últimos 4 o 5 años, ha sido tratar de ayudar a regularizarse. En este gobierno por fin se logró cristalizar el hecho de que los pequeños tengan ya nombre y apellidos, o sea, que ya sean regularizados. Antes no había una ley que los regularice, que los identifique y que les dé un permiso ya de producir. Aparte de todo esto, ellos tenían también que reforestar un porcentaje del área que en algún momento había sido talado al inicio de la construcción de las camaroneras, ¿no?
The project created an excellent relationship between members, the Calisur Shrimp Foundation, and the old users of the mangrove forest, the crab farmers and the mussel fishermen.
Ahí la fundación, con ayuda de los mismos cangrejeros de la zona y los pescadores, logramos hacer sistemas de producción de manglar, sistemas de cultivo, y comenzamos a hacer siembras, tanto en piscinas como en zonas aledañas, en los bordes costeros de la provincia, para tratar de ver en qué zonas nos podría funcionar mejor la reforestación de manglar.
To sign an agreement of reforestation on the 8th of November 2008 at the closing ceremony of the second Cali Expo Fair, which was backed by the Ministry of the Environment. Publicised and started work 3 months later, the first 1.5 hectares of mangrove planted had and managed to encourage afforestation of the banks located in the areas of Playan Balao to Punta Piedra, creating a belt of red mangrove of 300 to 500 metres, in order to prevent the excessive entry of nutrients that breaks down the physical-chemical balance of the water quality of the tributaries of the surrounding shrimp in the Jambalid Cat Channel, and the substability of several species of fish, which is the livelihood of hundreds of local families. Among the substance and the development of many communities depend on this forest resource. It is despised and poorly exploited. There has been a steady destruction of the ecosystem, and therefore the need for new public policies to update the valuation of goods and services provided as detailed in this report, of activities of seeding and coordinated work with the Secretary of Agriculture, public entities and technical advice from the firm Aquindensa. The Ecuadorian coast areas have suffered the impact of various human activities with a greater intensity at the end of the 1970s, and the rehabilitation of the mangrove ecosystems was essential. Reforesting them was accomplished to recuperate sites, even though some parameters such as soil, environmental conditions, plants and animal life had changed.
Entonces nosotros identificamos las áreas costeras en las zonas de embanque, que son zonas sedimentadas donde durante años, gracias a todas las afluentes de los ríos, de la industria, ganadería, agricultura y todo, se van embancando las zonas costeras. Entonces tú llegas a tener en las zonas costeras donde no hay playas, llegas a tener 2-3 metros de lodo, ¿no? Y en la zona de Balao, por influencia de la isla Puná y de los canales de navegación que están del lado de Pozorja, en la zona de Balao se acumula, en las zonas costeras se acumula kilómetros de lodo. Entonces nosotros identificamos una zona que tenía más o menos unos 5 kilómetros de longitud por cerca de 1 kilómetro de ancho. Y en esa zona comenzamos a hacer pruebas de reforestación y comenzó a funcionar.
Shrimp production, after being hit by the white spot 1999 to 2004, was not spared by the mentioned phenomena, and annual losses due to lack of oxygen and rapid reproduction of algae are quantified as £1 million of shrimp in the 5,000 hectares of the affected area between Orange Grove to Tengal. The Decree 1391 of the Shrimp Relegation Decree asks that you allocate a percentage of the area of production pools for the reforestation of mangroves. But the collapse of natural and artificial channels and adduction and drainage affected seeding. Demand creates a high investment in areas of irrigation systems, because only with the high spring tides can water be supplied that is required by the plants. Also remember that the responsibility of the shrimp farmer is only for 3 years. After this time, if he has not implemented the reforestation of mangrove and planting, areas protected at the moment will be lost. Defined by the participation of the members of the Association of Fishermen and Crab Farmers in early 2009, the nursery was built on the grounds of the company Aquadensa, and before the direct sowing on the shorelines between the mouths of the river Gala and Baleo, they practiced collection and pre-selection of seeds, propagales. The storage of seeds for transport. The seeds in good condition were placed in bags with mud, staying with continuous water and then taken to the final planting site.
Todos los sistemas y la tecnología que hemos hecho es nueva. Es propia ahorita de Calisur, que somos los que tenemos a cargo más porcentaje de reforestación en el país. De las 2.200 hectáreas que se están reforestando en el país, 1.500 las hace Calisur. Entonces nosotros somos los que hemos inventado la tecnología, y no la hemos inventado nosotros, la han inventado los cangrejeros, los pescadores, o sea, la gente que vive en el manglar y que conoce el manglar y que conoce la historia, el día a día de las semillas, de los árboles y todo eso.
The budget of the 150 hectares reforested approached the $200,000 as it reflects a summary of costs. Mangrove plants, sowing by hand, harvesting seeds, filling bags of sludge, technical administration and operational consultants, equipment and tools, laboratory analysis, transport, amongst other things.
Bueno, ahora de la reforestación de manglar es una ayuda para las que somos ahorita esposas de los cangrejeros, ya que hay más fuentes de trabajo, por lo que comienza a haber más especies de cangrejo, ya pues animales, y tanto a los cangrejeros como a las esposas nos ayuda porque a nosotros también nos dan aquí trabajo, y pues para poder con eso mismo subsistir y a poder progresar.
Investment in reforestation per hectare then, for 2010, was $1,300 and currently is at a cost of over $2,000. After 4 years of this process, according to a report carried out by technicians of the Ministry of the Environment, it was noted that the status of the plants of red mangrove of the area number 1 at the beginning of this year, and there was an average height of 180 centimetres, with 280 sheets of plants surviving the planting. A vegetation that hosts an aquatic biodiversity, zooplankton, sea fleas, shells, snails, oysters and fish, bass, cod and possibly as many as 26 different species. It's also the habitat of 55 species of birds, reptiles and mammals. Some of the mentioned animals are already included in the fishing carried out by the two members, the crab farmers and the fishermen of the Baleo Association and the Association of the 6th of July Crab Farmers.
El éxito del proceso de regularizar a todas estas empresas ha sido la unión que ahora existe entre los cangrejeros, pescadores y camaroneros. Nosotros, por lo menos en las zonas donde nosotros tenemos influencia, que es la zona de Guayas, los camaroneros con los pescadores y los cangrejeros se respetan. Y ese respeto se ha hecho no solamente por la exigencia del gobierno, se ha hecho gracias al trabajo en conjunto que han empezado a hacer desde que comenzó este proyecto.
Antes no había esa conexión cangrejero-camaronero, porque siempre había la rivalidad y siempre culpaban a los cangrejeros que eran piratas y qué sé yo. Ahora con lo que es Calisur ya poco a poco se ha ido esto hundiendo, hasta que todos los camaroneros se dieron cuenta que no éramos nosotros, sino que eran otras personas que venían de otras partes. Y ahora ya estamos casi de la mano con ellos, hemos andado cuidando todo eso. Vemos algo sospechoso, les avisamos a los camaroneros y así estamos relacionándonos con ellos.
Economic valuation of 1 hectare of mangroves is $89,000 $273 for the property or the environmental service provided. Based on this calculation and the young size of this plantation, they are considered to have a present value of $32,000 per hectare. But against initial investment of 150 hectares of forestry, that was $198,500, this throws in a 2.473% investment return. Among the recommendations, it's prioritising investment in the forestation of siltation coastal areas, aware that the speed of deterioration of most external mangrove forests is much higher than the natural regeneration. Putting and giving 10% in the custody of the organised crab farmers of Vallejo, the custody and surveillance of this new environmental resource and replanting areas keeps the relationship of species biodiversified. An article should be included in the law of aquaculture and fisheries that promotes the renovation of coastal ecosystems, to whose effect is suggested to fix on each renewal of concession its beaches and bays. A business to finance the reforestation of mangroves and other similar areas and to contribute them to programs of the MAE, the MAGAP, etc. It is also advisable to increase the scientific technical research into the processes of growth, survival, filtration of heavy metals, nutrients and bacteria from the mangrove forests, and support tests for the nutrient uptake of young red mangrove plants, showing high levels of biorecommendation in soils at this time.